Hello, everyone. Nicola here from Conscious Crypto Traders. And we're going to be looking at whether or not the midterms, the presidential elections in the United States affects the stock market and the crypto market, because it is coming up. We're 18 days away. And I've asked one of my members from my private mentoring group for cryptocurrency trading, Crypto Ninjas, Kelly Beauchene. She is here and she's done some great research. Kelly, say hi.
Hi.
Well, that was quick. Let me tell you quickly about Kelly. Kelly is going to be speaking a little bit more than that. We have invited her out of our Crypto Ninjas group to start creating some videos for us on Conscious Crypto. So she's going to be one of the featured presenters. She is an accountant. She is an expert in tax, is looking into crypto tax and regulation, as well as how entrepreneurs and businesses can incorporate cryptocurrency into their business. So she's going to be doing quite a bit on those subjects. We're really excited. Before Kelly is going to share our charts, and we're going to look at what happened pre and post midterms, pre and post presidential elections in the United States, in both the stock market and crypto, to see if we can get some kind of an edge as to where we're going to go. Is there anything else you want to say to that about what you've done on the charts before I launch in?
No, I think that's good. I've marked them clearly, and so we'll get a pretty good idea of how the both markets respond to those years of elections.
Yeah, and thanks for doing that research. So, guys, you got to join Crypto Ninjas. It's an amazing membership. We get together every week and we research, we share information, we talk about our trades, we rescue trades, and there's a lot of education. Link below if you want to learn more. What you're looking at here in front of you with these lines down here in this channel, it's Conscious Crypto Traders. We're conscious of other things, metaphysical things that can affect the charts, and we're looking at astrological aspects here. On the left, where you see the red, these are really negatively aspected planetary moves, like Saturn retrograde, which is this here, where we usually get these really big dumps. And then when we start coming out of retrograde, which is here, this is Pluto coming out of retrograde, and then this is Saturn coming out of retrograde yesterday, usually you start to see a slow swing upwards. And that usually marks year on year that the bottom is in, and we are now heading up from here. I highly recommend you look up our other videos that we've done on Saturn retrograde so that you can see the historical context of this. I'm not going into this today, but I just wanted to show you, true to form, that we kind of like flattened out on the bottom here, and now we are heading up. And in fact, if we come down onto the 4 hourly on the 22nd itself, we started coming out of, here it is here, 22nd. We started coming out of Saturn retrograde. Saturn is a planet of constriction around finance and business. And we started to see some movement upward. And Kelly, isn't it interesting that the Fed are looking at pivoting on raising interest rates, right?
Yes.
Because Saturn's coming out of retrograde. We're coming into a time of expansion for the financial world and for economics and business and so on. And so it's very interesting timing. And look, also this very long standing descending resistance line, we have broken out, we've come down and we've retested it. And now we're in a stage where we're looking and waiting to see, are we going to create a higher high, confirming we have broken out of a long-standing pattern, right?
Yes.
That's
kind of a big deal.
it's a big, huge deal. Yeah. So, and we've got new moon coming up. And if you don't have moon phases on your charts, we follow the moon phases. You'll see lots of videos. You can go to our playlist or even just go into the search and type moon and Bitcoin, and you'll see what we talk about is new moon. Full moon, we usually dump and then pump out. New moon, we pump in and dump out. So we are coming up to a new moon on Thursday, and true to form, we're pumping into it right now. We'll see if we start dumping early than Thursday, or whether Thursday, Friday, Saturday we start to dump out of it. So all of that being said, watch out for that. We want to look at a macro perspective on what could happen in the month of November as we head into the election. So I am going to let you share your screen there, Kelly. And if you could tell us what is the date? It's about 18 days away, isn't it? The midterms?
Actually, November 8th. So 8 and 7, about 15. Yeah, you were close. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay, so what we have here, so this is the Bitcoin chart, and this is showing, it's on the daily, and it's showing every year that there was an election, whether it was a presidential election or if it was a midterm election. And the one that we have upcoming on November 8th is the midterms. And it also correlates, the presidential elections correlate with the Bitcoin halving years as well. So we have the halving, which naturally would cause, the bull market and to hit the all-time high. And then coming kind of off that high down into the midterms, and then it just seems to go, kind of sideways on the years of the midterm elections. So I thought it was interesting, and I often wonder, did Satoshi Nakamoto
plan that?
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
did he plan it that way, right? Yeah, why not, right? Great year to have a Bitcoin halving. So I thought that was pretty interesting to see how that panned out. And so, are we just looking for, some sideways action? But I think we still need that rally though, right? We haven't had our relief rally in this bear market yet. So it would be nice to see us hit those levels of, the 28, 30,000 that a lot of analysts are looking at.
Yeah. So should we look at the midterms first? Every single midterm, is there a pattern?
Okay.
Sorry, can you hear me? Because Suri just came in and interrupted, and she usually takes up my microphone.
Yep, I can hear you.
Great. We want to see, does it make a difference whether or not Republicans or Democrats get in? So let's have a look at that, right? Because at the moment, it's looking like the House may flip Republican and the Dems may keep the Senate, right? That's a possibility.
Right.
So let's have a look. So 2014 was 2 years before Trump, right? Trump was 2016?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So that, and see how we pumped into it and we pumped out of it. And I mean, we all know that the markets are highly manipulated, and normally there is massive manipulation going on during presidential elections to pump everything up to make it look good so that the incumbent can get in, right? But in this instance, it got pumped up for Trump, right? But let's have a look at the midterms, because the midterms are coming up. 2014 was when that was the midterm elections in the last Obama reign.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And that it dumped into it, pumped out of it a little bit, and then dumped down. What happened there? Do you know? 2014, what happened?
During 2014, I'm not sure what events were.
They lost the House, didn't they? The Democrats lost the House. Is that right?
2014. Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So that's interesting. Now let's look at the midterm. The midterm 2018 also dumped.
Yeah.
Look at that. And that's when the Democrats won the House.
Won the House.
They got the House back, right? They didn't lose,
Right.
they didn't win the Senate, but they got the House back.
Huge pump.
Or did they get the Senate? No, that's right. They got the Senate in the 2020. Okay, cool. So usually there's a little bit of a dumpty-dump happening around there, right? Around the midterms. So and so here we are, right, looking to the right, we're trading sideways. We may pump into it. Going to be very interesting. I mean, usually in my experience, because I come from the stock market. So my experience in my late 20s, I was in the stock market. Into my early 30s, I learned a lot about market manipulation. I worked for a couple of merchant banks, and we're the ones who did all the research for our institutional buyers, letting them know what to buy and what to sell. And it was very evident that there was mass manipulation going on. But we're coming up to a really important midterm. Also, the timing of it's very interesting because we're coming out of retrograde season, which is usually when we start pumping, right? So we want to mark the date on our calendar. What's the date? 8th?
November 8th, yes.
November 8th. You want to mark a week before the midterms, a week after the midterms. During those 2 weeks, be very careful with your trading and make sure that you have good risk management because we may see sudden dump.
Yes.
Right? We may see a sudden dump. I think that, I mean, I'm not political. I don't believe political parties are the answer. I believe, was it George Washington said political parties are going to corrupt politicians? I believe that. I think the two-party system's crazy. But you know, this is just, here is just the facts. My sense of it is that if the Republicans win both the House and the Senate, I think we're going to see massive pumpage, massive manipulation into the presidential primaries,
Yes.
to really push for that party to get in. That's just my theory on it, because the timing comes where we're coming out of a full moon, a new moon, a new moon, and then coming into a full moon, but we're also coming into Neptune coming out of retrograde, which ends the retrograde season. So November could be a really explosive and month, and the first part of November could certainly be very volatile. Let's have a look at the presidential elections, and then we'll flip over to the stock market and see if there's a correlation. So Obama, presidential elections, correct me if I'm wrong here. I mean, I did American politics as part of my degree at university. It was just, I did politics and history. So that's why I really like historical data. Generally speaking, it doesn't really matter who the president is, as long as there's clarity, right? Because markets like clarity and they like stability. Yep. So we pumped into Obama and we pumped out of Obama getting in 2012.
Yes.
2016, correct. We pumped into the Trump election and we pumped out of it, right?
Yep.
So presidential elections are a bit pumpity dump. Now have a pumpity pump rather. Have a look at 2020. We pumped into it and we pumped out of it. How interesting is that?
Yep.
So we could see dumping in midterms and pumping in presidential elections.
Correct.
That is
coinciding with the Bitcoin halving, I think, which makes sense to be pumping into that
right.
And out
right,
of that.
Because the presidential elections are happening in a halving year or just after halving, right?
Right.
They happen a few months after the halving.
Exactly.
Interessante. Interessante. Okay, let's have a look at the stock market and see if we can see the same pattern.
So I think stock market, I think for the most part, similar, just not as much of a swing, obviously.
Because it's not as volatile.
Right.
Although 2012 presidential elections, we dumped into it and pumped out of it.
Yep. And I think 2016.
No, look at this is different. This is the presidential elections, the stock market dumps into,
Yep.
Isn't that interesting? So it's doing the opposite. So we've got a decoupling of the stock market and the crypto market during presidential elections, but similar pattern for midterms.
Yes.
That's interesting. That's probably because crypto traders don't care who gets in to some extent, because we know they're both evil.
Right.
Whereas
decentralized.
Whereas the stock market, companies listed on the stock market have a vested interest as to who gets in. I don't know. I'm just speculating and putting my conspiratorial hat on. Very, very interesting. So if you're trading stocks, take a screenshot of this, guys, and that's a pattern that we want to look at.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, let's go back to the crypto chart and let's just make sure everybody got a screenshot of that as well. Right? So more than likely dumping around the midterms, more than likely pumping so far as a pattern. Yep.
Yeah, so this is what concerns me here. If you look at 2018 looks
Yeah.
very similar, right?
Where it's a
So
it's a
sideways,
fractal.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
dump.
Yeah.
And and I've been looking at this and thinking, geez, that could be one of those scenarios that could bring us down to that 12,000, 10,000.
13,000,
Yeah,
15,000. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's a possibility, but as everybody knows on this channel, I've called the bottom at 17,500 because that's the price that it costs to mine a Bitcoin. And if you were mining Bitcoin and it went to 15,000, which means you're going to sell it as a loss, would you mine it?
right.
You
No,
wouldn't. And if you did, thinking it was going to swing up, would you sell it? No. So
right.
that's going to cause a supply shortage, which is going to, going to push the price up. Let's do you want to stop sharing and we'll just flip back over to mine. Let's have a look
Yeah.
at that.
Well, and I think, Nicola, too, the hash rate just hit an all-time high, which means that there are a lot of miners hopping on right now.
As in a lot of miners, yeah.
Yeah, started mining, there's more interest in mining Bitcoin right now. We just had an all-time high on the hash rate. So.
Because it's going up again, so it's more profitable, right? And
Exactly.
usually when that happens on the hash ribbon, I don't have that chart out. Teresa's really big on that. That has flashed by, right? There is
Yes.
definitely a buy signal here. So
Yes.
here's one of the reasons why I'll come into my monthly. I want to see if I have this on this chart. Whenever we come out of Saturn retrograde, particularly, we pump out of it. So this was the last Saturn retrograde here. And this is when we got that brutal dump down to 27,600, somewhere around there. When we got to this candle here and to this one, it was looking like a bear flag. Everybody was calling 10,000 Bitcoin, 5,000 Bitcoin. Some people were even saying 3,000. But generally, in the past, we've never gone to below the previous cycle top. We've dipped below this time round. We've wicked down there, but we have not traded down there. We got bought up really fast. And the story right now is we're going lower, 15,000, 10,000, 11,000, 13,000, 3,000, like all these ridiculous numbers. It's the same rhetoric.
Yes.
But the institutions, more longs going in than shorts. All of a sudden, a whole lot of shorts are starting to come off and longs are starting to go in, right?
Yeah.
But here's the other thing that I wanted to show you. When Saturn comes out of retrograde, which was on this candle here, no, it was a little bit later than that. It was September. Here it is. It was in September. We have already had the bottom in, and then we get a massive pump to an all-time high. Now that happens every single bull cycle. In a bear cycle, it doesn't happen quite like that. We get a lot elongated pump. We don't get a straight pump up, right? The fact of the matter is, though, that when Saturn comes out of retrograde, we have already pumped away from the bottom, and then we keep going up for the next level. And the rhetoric was a bear flag going down. We're going down, and what happened is we got an inverse Bart Simpson. I can show you that on the 4 hourly. Can I do it on the 4 hourly or daily? Because
Maybe
I need
daily.
to do all of that.
Yeah.
And where are we?
Yeah, April of 2021.
There
right?
it is here. This is it here. This was it right here, right?
Yeah.
This was it here. So if I go like that, This is on the daily, but if I went down onto the 4 hourly, that was a bear flag. I need to show it to you. I'm sorry. I should have put it onto another chart so I could very easily flick over instead of having to do this, because this is a pain in the butt-ly. This is worth looking at, guys, because the exact same rhetoric that was going on back then was going on a few days ago, because there's a little bit more bullish sentiment in the markets now.
So
really,
you think when we come out of the sideways action that we're just going to spike up more than like a slow stair climb?
I don't actually know, because we've got a Neptune coming out of retrograde, and if Neptune, I haven't looked to see what it is conjuncting with, because Neptune can be gnarly. Like whenever we get those really big vicious dips that nobody sees coming, that's always Neptune doing something. So I haven't done my research on that yet to find out what else is going on at that time. Here we go. September. This is it here. Is that it there? 2021?
September 21.
Here it is, right there, because I've already got it marked out from the last time I did this.
Mm-hmm.
Inverse Bart Simpson, bear flag. Everybody's saying we were going to go down. If we break 28,446, we're going down to 11,000, which was crazy because we had a couple of support levels underneath it, above those numbers before it would ever get down that low. And why we could tell, like both Teresa and I on the channel were calling, the emperor has no clothes, because if this was a bear flag, generally speaking, bear flags want to break out within the first 4 or 5 4-hour candles.
Mm-hmm.
If it keeps going sideways, it could still break to the downside. However, the longer it trades sideways, the more likely it is to reverse really quickly into an inverse Bart Simpson, which is basically Bart Simpson turned on his head, which is exactly what happened. And then we pumped out of it. And Saturn came out of retrograde on the 20, I think it was somewhere in here, somewhere in one of these. And when it came out of retrograde, we didn't go back down to the bottom. This was the bottom back here. Saturn coming out of retrograde signified the bottom was already in for that local area, right? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the bottom is in full stop, but like for this time period until we get a little bit further on in time. However, I still think, I just don't think we're going to go lower than 17,500. And I'm prepared to be wrong, and I'll come out on the channel and say I was wrong. But what do we do for trading, Kelly? Because this is what we talk about in Ninjas a lot, risk management.
Risk management, yeah.
Just because I think the bottom is in doesn't mean to say I'm cocky.
Yep.
I still have cheeky buy orders in at 15,000, 13,000, and 11,000.
Yeah, that's risk management, right?
It's risk management, because you never know, right? Especially in this day and age of black swan events. At the moment, guys, broken out of this big pattern, we've retested it. Look how heavily we got rejected into a little bit of a hammer there, right? Albeit a thick hammer. And now it looks like we're getting a bit of a V-shaped bounce. So now what we want to watch for, we get above 19,700.
Yep, that's what I have on my chart. Yeah.
Yeah, we get above 19,700, then we're going to the top of that, which eventually, I mean, it may take us months to get there, but it is all the way back to here, which is 24,965, call it 25,000, somewhere around there, right? Huge break. And this is a bear pattern that we're breaking out of to the upside. So we're not out of the woods yet, right? We've got to create that higher high, and that would be a really good entry point if the RSI is low, to look at entering into a trade. But we'll keep you posted. Kelly, anything else you want to say in terms of what we can expect from you going forward now that you are going to be one of our guests on the channel?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So I am really looking forward to bringing my previous tax experience and knowledge forward from about 25 years in the industry, and I'm very excited to start working with crypto tax, not because we want to pay tax on our crypto, because we want to pay less tax on our crypto. We want to
Legally.
pay the least amount of tax possible, and I've got some really good resources to draw on from that, and I'll be working on some good strategies to help everybody do that. So
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And Kelly, we'll be expecting something from you real soon. And until we meet again, guys, trade consciously. Links below if you want to learn about our trading crypto ninjas. We have a year-long training program to help you go from beginner to advanced in spot trading, portfolio planning, and leverage trading and scalping, as well as having those weekly calls. Great to have those weekly calls. Out of it, you've risen to be an expert now, so much so that you're going to be on the channel and you're creating a course, right?
I am. I just hit my 1 year anniversary as a ninja. So I'm telling you guys, it's a great investment in yourself.
Yeah, totally. And not only that, we've been going for 2 years, and the people who joined 2 years ago haven't quit. They're still with us, which is testament to the value that you get by being part of us. So hit the link below, check it out. And if you want to join us, that's awesome. We'll see you in person live on Zoom. You get an email with all the details and login and all that sort of thing. And we'll see you there. Thanks so much for listening all the way to the end. Thanks for being here, Kelly. Look forward
You're
to seeing
welcome.
what you come up with next. Bye for now.